Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey people, so today we're going to take a look at Codenames Pictures from CGE Czech Games Editions. Or Czech Games Edition, one or the other. This is a new version of the original Codenames. Now, I've reviewed both Codenames and Codenames Deep Undercover, which was just Codenames with dirty words. But do check that out, because that was fun. But this is now, as the name implies, Codenames with pictures. Now, some would say that you could already play it that way because, as I mentioned in my Codenames Deep Undercover review, you could play the original Codenames with Cards Against Humanity cards, and I've played with Dixit cards as well, which is essentially playing with pictures. And if you're not familiar with Codenames, it's just a team game where one player on each team is giving clues, and the other player on each team is guessing. You're giving clues based on the grid of cards, and in the original it was words, and you're trying to connect words together. So you might look at all the different words out there, and you'll know which cards you have to make your teammate guess, and avoid an assassin that's out there. And so you might say, I don't know, box 3, and they'll have to figure out what 3 words out there relate to box and guess your clues, your correct cards correctly, not giving the other team any points and not guessing what the assassin is. So it's the exact same premise with Codenames Pictures. But instead of words, they are, of course, pictures that have, and they're not just like, here's a thing, it's usually some sort of weird thing with a lot of details in the artwork. So, monkey wearing a spacesuit, or girl hitchhiking out on the ocean to a boat, something like that. So, and I wouldn't say it's like on the same level of weirdness as Dixit, but yeah, you're in the ballpark. They tried to keep the cards not too obtuse, but still with enough detail to make you wonder, like, okay, well, what do they really mean by that? And do they mean this detail on the card? And so on and so forth. The only other major changes, actually, there's really only one, is that you can, the grid of cards is 5x4 instead of 5x5, which I think was just for your own sanity, because there's so much to keep track of now. It's not just a bunch of words. That can just be a little overwhelming, although you can even retroactively play with that grid size for the original Codenames if you're so inclined. There are also, along those lines, variant rules that let you play with both the pictures cards and the words cards mixed together. And you could probably still do the other variants for Cards Against Humanity and Dixit if you really wanted to, and mix them all together and just be insane. There's also a new rule where, for the pictures at least, where you can just say what's in the picture. So let's say that there's a unicorn in one of the pictures. You can just say unicorn could be your clue. You couldn't do that. You couldn't say the word itself that's on one of the cards in the original Codenames. But the thing is, that doesn't help you tremendously here, because just saying unicorn 1, well, that gets you that, but remember, you're trying to string together a bunch of different words, so it's not as helpful as it might seem. There's also another new, this isn't really a variant, this is just a new way to play, and primarily for pictures, where you can just say, you're supposed to say the clue and a number, with the number being how many cards out there relate to that clue you just gave, if you're the clue giver. But now you can just say unicorn unlimited, which means that's the clue, but you can guess as many times as you want. Now, the upside of that is that being able, as the guesser, to guess as many times as you want means that if you're halfway through the game and there were other cards that you could have guessed because you didn't guess them when the clue giver explicitly said there were this many cards matching that clue out there, now's your chance to make up for that lost time and potentially guess them without being restricted. On the other hand, if someone says Unicorn Unlimited, you're like, well, wait a minute, how many cards out there actually relate to Unicorn? And is this going to screw me up now? So, really interesting little tiny changes that do make the game more interesting, as well as just the very nature of the cards themselves. I didn't actually think I would like this version that much, because I'm like, well, first off, I could play with Dixit if I really wanted to. And the artwork's not totally inspiring, although I like it more now that I've seen it in person and I've played with it a little bit. It's clearly high quality artwork. I just thought it looked a little bland to me. But then again, I think that was on purpose. If you put color in there, that might throw things a little bit too out of whack, and maybe that's why Dixit's not the preferred way to play with those cards. So I found it very interesting because of how much detail, not like a ton of detail, but just enough in each of the picture cards to add just another layer to the game. And I'm leaning towards this being better than the original. I still need to try it with mixing the different things together. I actually don't think that's going to add much to the game. It might just keep it in neutral, where you're mixing the word cards with the picture cards. But certainly, I like having all the options, and I do have the penis and vagina cards from that version as well, so we can really have fun. Sorry, I didn't put the warning in front of this one. I probably shouldn't have said that. But no, I do like this version more than I thought. They clearly put more effort into. I mean, there's a ton of artwork in this game. There's a lot of artwork cards. They even had some new artwork for the tiles that you put out for the cards, and they're a different size as well. There is an app that we actually didn't play with, but it does recommend in the book, because we don't like to play with a timer anyways, but you can get an app timer if you're so inclined, and I think it works with any version of Codenames. But in summation, I like this version quite a bit. Any version of Codenames is good, depending on what's right for your group. This might even be the best of them. But regardless, you got to go out there and try Codenames because it's a fantastic little, I guess, party game. I guess I'm coming around to that, although I think it's more just a fun, light game, regardless of your group size. So that in particular is Codename Pictures. Check it out if you're so inclined. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.